Not alone on the show today. Two experts are here for you. My first guest is from Steers Business, Wemisola Alonge. Welcome back to Hard Facts.
Thanks for having me, Sandra.
And my second guest is an industry expert. He's the CEO of ITEL Engineering, and he previously was a manager with Scanners. Manager. He was a scanners manager, sorry, for a contractor that maintained scanners at the port.
Okay.
Adams Usman, welcome to Hard Facts.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I must point out that I found Mr. Usman through Hard Facts. He's a listener, and he sent us a WhatsApp message on one of the shows when we were talking about the scanners at the ports. And from the points he made, he was clearly an expert. So I reached out to him to be a guest, and he gracefully accepted. So thank you again, Mr. Usman.
Thank you, Sandra, for having me once
I
again.
am Sandra Ezekwesili, Lagos, and we want to hear from you. So, first things first, what do you think are the major problems with our ports? How do you think we can fix those problems? Also, give me questions you may have for our experts on the show. Let me start with Bemisola. Let's start with a bird's eye view, right? Before we get into the details of it. I'm also going to ask Mr. Adams this question, so start thinking about your answer. But Bemisola, what would you say are the biggest reasons why we have such serious congestion and low output at our ports?
Um, there are quite a lot of issues with the ports, especially in Lagos, Apapa and Tinkan ports. The issues actually start from the water, right? So when
From the water?
well, they sort of spill over to the water. It's just so many things interconnected. So when people bring in goods or are taking out goods, there's already a congestion on water. So I, I actually wrote a piece about this, an article about this on CS Business, and I spoke to someone who usually imports stuff, and according to him, it takes about 30 days to bring in some shipments from some countries, and sometimes it takes up to 30 days for them to berth at Lagos State, at the Nigerian port. So it takes 30 days to get to our border, water border, and then another 30 days for us to just bring the containers from the water to the actual port. So, and that's because of a lot of congestion from the water. So our ports are very congested and they're very saturated. So there are a lot of containers there. And before you can bring in more, you have to sort of clear the ones that are already on board, or at least make space for them, because there are some that have been there for some time and still there. So and then the entire process involves first the whole documentation is very manual in most cases. So even for companies to sort of even for like MDAs, like ministries, so for customs, NAFDAC, SON, for them to inspect some containers, they actually do so physically. Like they physically go there and check what's inside the container. And as you can imagine, that's going to take a long time. So by the time people finally are done with like the whole documentation and inspection of the containers, by the time you take them outside, there's also a congestion taking them out of the port, right? Taking them out of the port, driving on a Papa way, another congestion because of the bad roads. So just the manual way of doing things, the saturation of the port, there's hardly any offloading center, like storage center for trucks to stay while they're waiting for consignment. So some of them have to actually wait on the road. Some of them have to wait in front of the port. So just taking things out and bringing things in is usually a hassle because everywhere is blocked. So because we don't have like an automated system of doing things, there's no automated system of like scanning the containers. There's no automated system of inspecting. There's no automated system of like sorting out. And then there are people that have just abandoned their goods in the ports, right? So people that maybe some are actually government-owned containers that are still at the ports, and then others are like for private organizations or individuals that have been unable to pay to clear those consignments. So it's just space, really, space, and just doing things manually over and over again that's causing the congestion, and this has spilled over to the water, like I said. Another thing is bringing containers back, because the shipping companies expect that even after you take their containers away, right, you have to bring them back. So bringing them back, there's another congestion on the road. It takes days, weeks sometimes, bringing containers back. So everything all together. And these shipping companies would not leave until, like, some of them wouldn't leave until they have like a certain number of containers, empty containers, so that they can go back and, use those empty containers to then take more consignment. So just, take things back, right? So there's just a lot of clogging everywhere that causes the congestion.
Now, let me come to Mr. Adams. I wonder if your view will be different as somebody who has been in the industry for years.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. My own concern is when the goods arrive in Nigeria here, the scanning process. Before the scanning, let me give you some little background about Nigeria. Before January 1st, 2006, Nigeria was operating a system called the Procurement Inspection of Import Scheme. This was in effect from 1979 to 2005. During this period, all imports to Nigeria were subjected to inspection abroad before shipment. The objective of that scheme then was to curb the incidence of over-invoicing, leading to capital flight as well as under-invoicing by importers to evade payment of appropriate duties. Other objectives of that scheme then, I'm talking about the Procurement Inspection Scheme now, included quality and quantity assurance, as well as ensuring delivery of imports paid for. The inspection companies then were namely Cotecna, SES, Bureau Veritas, and Sweet Control. These companies were in operation during that period of pre-shipment. But by 2001, facts emerging from the import sector cast doubt on the desirability, integrity, and effectiveness of that scheme. Such facts included, among others, the phenomenon of concealment, under-invoicing, and stuffing of imports. As a result, government therefore set up a committee to review the scheme with a view to identifying its weaknesses and strengths. While the committee acknowledged that the scheme had helped to curb capital flight, including improving to customs revenue collection, it nonetheless recommended the introduction of destination inspection with effect from January 1st, 2003. The recommendation was accepted by the then government in power, but the implementation was delayed to put in place structures that would support a successful implementation of that scheme. In December 2003, the Federal Executive Council constituted a presidential committee on the implementation of the destination inspection and scanners project to be chaired by the then Minister of Transport, Abi Ezekwesili, I think so. In its report to government, the committee recommended the award of contract for the supply of X-ray scanners to 3 service providers in 3 lots on a build, own, operate, and transfer, which we call BOOT. Cotecna was one of those companies. SDS was handling lot 2, while the third company, which is the indigenous company, Global Scan, the only indigenous company to handle such assignment in Nigeria, completing the 3 companies. The committee also recommended direct procurement of Asikuda Plus Plus software from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, at the cost of US dollars $2,950,000. This component includes free software and technical support for 3 years. Mrs. Webfontaine was recommended for the provision of the non-UNCTAD component of this Asikuda Plus Plus, which includes installation and management of IT and telecommunication software and hardware, power supply equipment with associated training and maintenance, also on a BOOT basis. Moreover, the committee established a working group chaired by the Nigeria Customs Service to chair the process of implementation of this scheme. The government has since enter into contract agreement with each of the above service providers. I mean, talking about that period then. Now, let us come to the Destination Inspection Scheme commencement, which commenced in January 2016. The scheme has two main components. The reason why I'm giving us all this background is for us to know that, look, you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result.
Right.
The Destination Inspection Scheme, like I mentioned earlier, commenced on 1st of January 2006.
Right.
The scheme has two main components, namely Asikuda Phosphorus and X-ray scanning with risk management system. Now, the X-ray scanning aspect of it, like I mentioned earlier, was handled by the three companies I mentioned, Cotecna, SGS, and and Global Scan Systems.
Right.
This scheme operated between January 1st, 2006 and December 2012. By December 2012, the contract was supposed to have ended, to be terminated. But the government in power then, the government of President Goodluck Jonathan, extended that contract by 6 months. Now, on the expiration of the 6 months around June 2012 or thereabout, there was another extension. And during that period, all the scanners, because we had lot 1, lot 2, lot 3,
right,
and each of these 3 lots by each company. Cotecna then was to provide scanners for Apapa, Tinkan Island Port, Kano, and Abuja Airport,
right,
Gibia and Banki borders, while SGS was to provide scanners for Oneport, Harcourt Port, and also Port Harcourt Airport and Idioko border. Global Scan Systems Limited, the only indigenous company, was to provide scanners for Warri, Calabar Port, Ikeja Airport, Seme border. In Seme border, Global Scan was to provide a fixed scanner, but in the interim, they were to provide a mobile scanner, which is the motorized scanner I sent to you in the pictures earlier. The one that is in like a building is the one that we call the fixed scanner. Now, after the provision of these scanners, the companies installed them, operated them, and there was an improvement during that period in the clearance process in the country. But to my surprise, after the expiration of the second 6 months, which ended, I think, in November 2013, the government then transferred the operation and the control of and the maintenance of these scanners to the only indigenous company called Global Scan Systems. And the company was able to handle these scanners for a period. But meanwhile, during that period, there was no direct contract with the government, meaning that the company had to provide on its own funds to ensure that the manufacturers of the scanners, Smith Detection International, provide maintenance during the period.
Right.
Now, at the end of that program, there was this, what do you call it now? There was this politicking over the CG, or the CG in charge of customs then, I think Diko Inde Abdullahi.
Okay.
He wanted to have control over the appointment of contractors. And there was this tickling with the law then to ensure that the customs control whoever will be the contractor that will handle the scanners.
Right. And
at the end of the day, he had his way, and he now reappointed Global Scan Systems, the only indigenous company, to handle. This time around, it was now a contract between the companies, the service provider, and and the Nigeria Customs Service.
Right.
That contract was supposed to last for 5 years. But on its first anniversary, that is in September 2015, the CD of Customs then, Diko Inde Abdullahi, retired. And on his retirement, he gave instruction that the contract should be terminated. Now, these scanners, they are specialized and advanced equipment. They are not the equipment that you can leave at the mercy of the weathers. What I mean in essence is that there are components in these scanners that must be operated daily. Yes, you may ensure that the AC, the cooling system in that scanner work so that they will continue to cool the detection system, which detects the image. You understand my point
In
now?
the container, yes.
Yeah, detect the image in the scanner itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The scanner is made up of various subsystems.
I see.
Now, the CG terminated this contract as he was leaving office without making provision for another company that will take over from the then service provider, Global Scan Systems.
Is that the procedure? Because I'm curious about that. Even if the contract is terminated, what's the normal procedure for making sure that the staff at the ports have the capacity for managing the equipment? Shouldn't there be a new contractor for maintenance, for instance?
The normal practice for such equipment is to ensure, it's just like you have a security man manning a facility. If you want to change that security company, it is important that you make arrangement for another security company that will take over.
Right.
Because if you terminate the contract, it means that the security guards will not be reporting for duty at the end of that day or the next day. So that was the arrangement that the outgoing CG failed to implement. In fact,
do we know why?
Well, it is best known to him, because till today we don't understand the reason why such a rash action was taken by him. And this, of course, led to a lot of problems for even the staff. I'm happy you mentioned the personnel, the staff. With the termination of that contract, that the indigenous company, which is Global Scan, sacked all their workforce. Not only that, there are certain payments that were supposed to be made when the first contract terminated in December 2012. This money were never paid to the staff. As I am speaking with you now, I have it on good record that the staff are presently in court with the owners of that company, Global Scan.
Okay.
So the action of the outgoing CG then caused a lot of problems. I was surprised when I saw the article where the area controller in Apapa was apportioning blames to one of the service providers.
Right.
I want to make it clear here that the major person that caused this problem was the outgoing CG of Custom Tico for failing to make arrangements for another company that will take over the maintenance of those scanners. My sisters, I'm talking to you now from 2015 September, when this contract was terminated, till this period that I'm talking to you, those scanners are not maintained by any company.
But there's been a new CG since the previous CG left. Why hasn't this new CG done something about it?
I guess my only suspicion was that, 2015 was the time when this current administration came into power. And as at that period, we had, the current CG, that is, what is his name now? The current CG of Customs.
Right.
Was appointed. Maybe he wanted to be very careful to study what was really on the ground before he goes ahead and take action. But information that I'm gathering is that government is making arrangements to buy new scanners.
When we have the scanners that have been at the ports since for years now.
In fact, Nigeria currently have about 21 scanners made up of 3 field scanners, mobile scanners, and the high scans, the ones that they use at the airport.
Are they bad? These scanners at the ports, are they bad, or do they just need people who know how to use them to come and use them?
I suspect that the scanners might not be in good shape now. Because when you abandon such a high-tech equipment from 2015 till this very moment, because I remember there is one of the sites. I don't want to mention the names now.
Okay.
They were so much in love with the equipment under their area command.
Okay.
And the moment those equipment with the scanner has any fault, they will invite me. They will invite my company, RTL Engineering Nigeria Limited.
Okay.
We will go there and fix this for them. This was an internal arrangement for them to ensure that they make the equipment functional. But other commands like Apapa and the rest of them were not so lucky to have this in place.
This arrangement. Now, Gbemisola, you're listening to all of this, and I wonder if you think that this problem contributes to the congestion at the ports. Mr. Adams Usman says yes, it does. Do you agree with him, Gbemisola?
Oh, definitely.
Can you speak up? We're struggling to hear you.
Oh yes, can you hear me?
Yes, better. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, it's actually one of the issues. Like I mentioned earlier, because we don't have these automatic, or because these automatic scanners are not put to use regularly.
Right.
You have the customs, NAVDAC in the case of if you're bringing in or taking out health or food-related items.
Right.
You have NAVDAC, you have Standard Organization of Nigeria,
right.
having to actually do physical inspections of every container that comes in.
Right.
That's just a lot of work, right? I mean, imagine people actually opening every single container so that they can actually inspect physically. That takes a lot of work for everyone, including the people that have to do it. And it also means that when the personnel on duty either not in the mood or tired, and it will just affect things because it's not automatic. It will just affect a lot of issues. And then they have to pay. Sometimes people have to pay bribes to ensure that their containers are inspected in time, or just to ensure that maybe if whatever they're bringing in is illegal or something. I mean, there's just a lot of drama there because you have to deal with people as opposed to machines that would just
do the work. Now, how much faster, Mr. Adams, are the machines? Like, how many containers can they clear in a day, for instance? When they were working, how much work did they get done?
A scanner, the mobile scanner, for example, can handle about more than 25 containers in 1 hour.
Oh.
So you can, when you compare that with the one the Nigerian Customs Service are currently doing now, where they will unstuff and reload the container. If you want to carry out thorough inspection, it will take you more than a day to inspect one container physically. But with the use of these scanners, after scanning this, it takes about 1 minute to scan a container, and maybe about another 1 or 2 minutes to analyze the scan image and to interpret the image and declare whether it is suspicious or not suspicious. But we abandoned all this technology and we decided to go back to our old ways of inspecting containers.
Let's pause there and take a break. We'll come back and you finish this thought, because it appears to me that the only reason we've abandoned the technology is for politics. Lagos, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. We'll bring you more information after this break. Don't go away.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
Would you like to easily buy airtime
expert, the other one, financial journalist. Bemisola Alonge works with Steers Business. And Adams Usman is a listener who sent me a WhatsApp message about the ports when I was talking about the ports last week. And I just had to give him a call to be a guest. He's the CEO of ITEL Engineering, previously the scanners manager for a contractor that maintained scanners at the port. And they've been providing very serious insights into the issues that have caused the congestion that have become normal with especially legal sports. Now, Mr. Usman, before the break, you were telling me about the scanners themselves, the former CG, the current CG Hamid Ali, and why things have not started working how they should be working. And I said to you before the break that it sounds to me that the reason we do not currently use a system that can clear 25 containers in an hour is because of politics. And that sounds ridiculous to me. But is that what you're saying, Mr. Usman?
Honestly, that is the only thing that I can readily think about at this very moment. Because Ghana, our neighbor, started the use of these scanners in 2002. Nigeria decided to embrace this technology in 2006. And as we speak now, Ghana is still operating their scanners. Now, the second issue now is this. Why will somebody decide to terminate the contract for something that was working and benefiting the country, the nation, something that the nation invested in? The contract for destination inspection, cost Nigeria a lot of money. The procurement of these scanners cost us a lot of money. Now, why must he terminate such a contract? And let's say he was going when he did this. But what about those that took over from him? What have they been doing since 2015? They allowed this equipment to deteriorate. They allowed this equipment to get worse. Now we are waiting to see what they want to do, because we already have information that they were planning to buy new ones. What is the guarantee that when you buy new ones, you will not treat them the same way you are treating the ones that we currently have in the country now? What is that guarantee? So, to me, what really comes to my mind is politics. Why won't the current CG Ahmed Ali wake up one day, immediately when he was appointed, why was he not interested in listening to this kind of thing? Or maybe because he's not a custom professional, he's not a custom man. Maybe. But what about the people that surrounded him? Why didn't they advise him that we have a system that is working? Why don't we revisit? Why don't we go back and check what is happening? Why don't we appoint another company to continue with the maintenance of this equipment? So these are the issues.
These are the issues. Bemisola, I said at the top of the show that the Shippers Association of Lagos State says that goods for exports are stuck at the ports. Goods that are worth 868 billion naira. And they say the main problem is something called the NXP, Nigerian Exports Proceeds. All exporters must have an NXP number so that CBN can make sure that their forex comes to the bank. Why do you think it's proven so difficult to get NXP numbers, Bemisola?
So the NXP issue is not new. The CBN did not just start it. Exporters normally are obliged to get this NXP funds and numbers, like you said, from their banks and sort of register with the Nigerian Export-Import Bank to export their goods. So the idea is so that when they get the payment for their exports, they're able to repatriate these payments in 90 days to to their commercial banks. And when they repatriate the foreign exchange to the central banks, they then sell it in the I&E window and, give the funds. It's basically just giving the foreign exchange to the central bank or their commercial bank. So the central bank noticed that a lot of companies were not doing this. So what companies would do is they would get the NXT funds as usual with one bank and then go to another bank and just receive their foreign exchange, their revenue for the export into another bank, just like normal remittances, not like the payment for the export that they had, gotten the NXT for in the past. So to ensure that they enforce this, the central bank now sort of tightened. I mean, the CBN released a circular last week reiterating the need or how to manage or use export proceeds accounts. So exporters are only supposed to use their accounts to meet their own trade obligations and sell it in the INA window. So because of this, the central bank has then sort of clamped down on banks to ensure that they collect the money for the NXTs. If not, they'll be penalized. And then this process this year, I mean, December and like the last 3 months of the year are usually the peak periods for import and export. So because companies are then rushing to register for this NXT at this time, because now the CBN is taking it more seriously than they've ever taken it, there's a lot of, like, the queue is long and there's just a lot going on. And then the process is slower than it should be. I guess they're just scrutinizing it more and ensuring that banks are ensuring, and the CBN and all the other players are ensuring that they're able to get all the foreign exchange that they need at this time, as opposed to before when, sort of like anything goes. So that whole process of being more intentional with the NXT registration, and it's just worth taking time. Obviously, it shouldn't take this long. It shouldn't be this slow, but that's what's causing the delay at the port. So people who sort of have who are familiar with the system and have some agents or connections with people in the banks and all of that, or in the central bank maybe, are able to sort of speed up the process faster. But for those that are unable to, they have to wait to ensure that they get their NXP funds.
When I talked about this yesterday, I was asking if there wasn't a way to get this done at the point of export, if there wasn't a way to have this set up at the ports itself, if there wasn't a way to do this instantaneously. Why? Because you have the Shippers Association and Maritime Workers Union saying that the process is long, it's complicated, it's complex. And I went to the bank today to pick up my ATM card, and it took all of 10 minutes to do, right? Is there no way to make things like that instantaneous? Is there no way to get these numbers online, for instance, since we are, after all, in the year of our Lord 2020?
Yeah, I guess, so I'm not very familiar with what the step-by-step process is, but I believe that they're doing it on a portal. So, and because they're dealing with banks, really, you're not dealing, it's not the customs or the port authorities, it's the banks that they're dealing with. That's why it's taking slower. Like I said, this is not a new export protocol. It has always been, people always had to get export proceeds from time. So it's just now, because the CBN is really clamping down on ensuring that the
has
money
gotten
is
serious
back.
about it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's just the process of ensuring that. I mean, it's just deeper now because the CBN is more serious about getting its foreign exchange.
Is there a way, in your experience, Mr. Adams, for this to be done in a way that doesn't have almost £1 trillion worth of goods stuck at the airport?
The easiest way now is to swallow, for the government to swallow its pride.
Okay.
And invite people like us with experience in this field. We are Nigerians. We were trained by Smith Detection, a leader in worldwide provider of scanners, advanced scanners.
Okay.
We all have all this experience. There are other people, some of my colleagues too, who also are doing well in the business.
Okay.
And invite the stakeholders, bring everybody together. Let us sit down. Let us brainstorm. Let us see how we can salvage what is available. I mean, what we can salvage from the existing scanners now, because I don't want to believe that they are entirely bad. There are some, like I can mention the one in Semeboda, which I'm very conversant with. We've worked on this scanner, and we were working on it before the closure of the border.
Yes. Now, I'm not talking about the scanners. I'm talking about the NXP numbers that exporters have to get that will ensure that CBN gets its forex. Now, I'm asking for your insight as an industry insider. Is there a way that this thing can be arranged so that shippers and maritime workers are happy with the process, since they've all said that the process to get an NXP number is complicated, is long, is complex? Is there a way that everybody can meet in some sort of middle ground that works?
I believe everything is possible. The first thing is to have the will to do it. If these things are done in other countries, I don't know the reason why we can't do it here in Nigeria. The first thing is for them to have that will and believe that they do it and they can do it. With that, I believe they can achieve it.
Lagos, let's talk. 0700-993-993-993 or 700-993-993-993. Join the conversation. Why don't you? If you have questions for my guests, also come with them. You've heard from the experts. What do you think about the points that they've raised here today? What do you think are the problems with our ports? How do you think we can fix them? What do you think the solution to this NXP problem is? And share your thoughts as well via Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3. There's WhatsApp. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. Our first caller is Austin, who is in Surulere. Austin, welcome.
Hello?
Hello, welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Austin. Go ahead.
Yeah. It will, be obvious. Like the other of our friends will say, obvious to the blind, about what is actually happening with our system. What is happening in the port is not different from what is happening all over Nigeria in our system. Our systems need overhaul. We have a system that runs such that no person takes responsibility for anything done. Any person can get away with anything and anyhow. And that is just the problem. So it is a systemic thing. It's not just about the airport that has this issue now. Are you talking of our road system? Look at the Apapa, also the Greek lock. Then go to the issue of education, ASU. Just name it. Everywhere in our system, you find out that there are heavy issues. And the issues are systemic and they are man-made. It is not as if there's a problem anywhere, but the system needs an overhaul. It is, it has gone beyond the system where we say one man, being the superman, we have to fix it for. It is obvious that has failed. So we need a systemic overhaul so that people take responsibility, and when they err, they are punished. And that is just all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling us, Austin. Great call there. 99.3. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, thanks for calling. What's your name?
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. My name is Ruben from Yaba.
Welcome, Ruben.
Yeah, your guests are not really you are not dealing with this thing the way I expected them to do. First of all, I don't want to believe that those scanners cannot be repaired. I think the guy, one of the guys you featured, I don't think he mentioned it, that those scanners, I believe that, okay, they are spoiled. I agree that they are spoiled. They are not functioning the way they are. I believe that there are experts that you can call within this country that they can repair it.
Well, the experts have said that repairing it is too expensive. The parts that will need to be replaced will be too expensive. Sometimes waiting they do something to fix cost pass than to buy new one.
Not the same machine where we talk about machine scanner.
No.
Machine.
No.
No problem. She said so. Yes, then the NSP wahala, I don't think it should be too protracted as they are mentioning it. Well, what is there? Is it not to generate number? Is it not those number to generate number? If there are 50,000 exporters in Nigeria or 1 million, is it not to generate numbers? Maybe like 8 digits or 10 digit numbers. then direct it to them, barcode, blah blah blah, card to generate card. Why is it so difficult? Why is it so easy to collect ATM from bank, but it's very difficult for the bank to generate NSP numbers and whatever papers that need to be tendered. I don't know why they are not really saying that they should open up and say that this thing can be done within 24 hours or 48 hours. And I hope, hello, are you there, ma'am?
I'm here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also want you to ask them, why is it that only Lagos Port is working in this Nigeria? We have Delta, we have Ogun State. A dry port can be opened in Ogun State. We have Akwa Ibom, we have Ondo, we have Katsina. Why is it that only one port is working in Nigeria? Why? Why can't we have 8 ports? If Apapa refuse to upgrade to ICT, then let on wake up and do the needful. Why was everything passed through Lagos? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Bemisola, I'll let you take that question. Why? Why do we have just one working? Now, we don't, of course, have only one working. One is working more and more. We also have the one in Anambra also picking up gradually. But we shouldn't be telling the tale of gradually in 2020, right, Bemisola?
Yeah, I agree. So the thing with the Lagos Apapa port is really the depth of the water. So as opposed to One and Warri ports, the size of vessels that the Lagos port can accept and the kind of traffic that the Lagos port can accept as a result of its location and, just how large the water body is around Lagos is what favors the Lagos and Apapa ports more than the rest of the country. And like you said, the One port has actually begun operations and started receiving large vessels as well. I think Warri Port as well. So those ones are already, in motion. They're already starting to receive large vessels. But I mean, these things with exports and imports is usually not as simple or as easy as daily sales or like daily trade. So these things require that companies change their processes drastically, and that wouldn't just happen overnight. So companies would have to get used to using other ports, and other ports would have to also get used to accepting a certain level of traffic. Obviously, you wouldn't want to test with your goods, right?
But if we have Maersk, one of the biggest shipping companies in the world, redirecting its traffic to One now, that tells you that companies are willing to do whatever works.
Yeah, so I mean, Maersk is a shipping company. People patronize it, right? So companies would be the ones to decide where they want their own shipments to land. Now that, like you said, because they're there, that gives people the confidence to also reroute their trade and their imports or exports to that port. But it was only just launched this year, and it will take some time for people to get used to
get on board. Now, in your opinion, what would be the best approach for government using the next 3 years to increase activity at the port and reduce bottlenecks?
So a lot of things, really. The NPA has actually announced that they're collaborating with the Lagos State government to create a landing or a holding bay for trucks. If that can be successfully done, that means that the trucks that usually wait on the road for their shipments to arrive or to return empty containers would have a place to stay. That clears the backlog or the traffic on the roads. So that's one. Also, like Mr. Adams has said, we need automated systems of scanning. We need automated systems for even identifying the locations and the position of trucks. A lot of the infrastructure and the ports at the moment are broken down. We also need alternative transportation out of the ports, apart from the roads. The Ministry of Works and Ministry of Transportation are actually doing the rail from Apapa at the moment. So that is a step in the right direction. We just need them to complete it. So, for instance, if containers get to the Apapa port and people clear them in a place like Yaba or on the island or something, it redirects traffic out of Apapa, or at least some traffic out of Apapa to other parts of Lagos. I mean, you can even have a situation where people are clearing their containers in Ibadan because the trains just take containers. As soon as they land in the Lagos port, they take them out, take them to other states, take them to other parts of Lagos, so that people can then go and clear them there, as opposed to everybody clearing in Apapa. So it's just changing infrastructure, and like Mr. Adams also said, we need willpower. Like these things.
Hold that thought. I need to take a quick break, unfortunately. I will be right back.
Guy, what's in the make you scatter house like this, I beg, you help me see my Airtel SIM. I carry and give Shade yesterday, but you know they use him again now. Yeah, you don't carry my bonus give landlord picking. Now today you go pack out. On top Airtel SIM.
Yes, so if you don't reach 15 days where you never use your Airtel SIM, go find them now. Because why? Obonga will full on top. Hey, get 2,000 naira airtime plus extra 200